1, 2. I was about to say after all of that, then the mic wouldn't come on. All right, we're here. Good morning, y'all. All right, good. Give us a couple minutes. We're going to start the live stream. That's going to get going any second. And we're going to go to some slides, and then we're going to get started. We'll put some background music on, Daniel. And we appreciate everybody's patience. We went back to my Baptist days, 11 o'clock service. We're going to get through. So let's get ourselves to our meditative state, and we'll start service in about a minute. All right, testing 1, 2. We are here. We have made it. Welcome to Father's Day at Infinity Fellowship. Welcome to Juneteenth at Infinity Fellowship. Welcome to If Speaks at Infinity Fellowship. And welcome to the officially latest start in the history of Infinity Fellowship, which is on time. But we're grateful for the technology that we have, and we're pulling off 2 or 3 new tech things today. And as a result, it also moved us through what's happening with the city. If you haven't noticed, there have been a ton of power outages all over Nashville, Tennessee. We've come home a couple of times and seen that blinking stove and that blinking coffee machine here. So that happened like, 2 minutes before we were going live, and fried a few cables that we're still trying to figure out. But either way, we are here. And we are happy and we are excited to be here for Infinity today, to see everybody in the space and to see everybody and to feel everybody at home. We thank you for your patience as well. So we're going to kick off today's service as we normally do with a brief meditation and prayer. So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes in this moment and experience the stillness of the right now. And as all eyes are closed, we are slowing down our breath and just being appreciative of this moment. This is a moment dedicated to our fathers, dedicated to freedom, one of the many celebrations of freedom for all humanity. Recognizing in this moment until if one of us isn't free, none of us is free. So we are all celebratory in this moment, and we are breathing in the celebration and we are breathing in the gratitude. And as we reset our minds, as we focus on the right now, we embrace this moment of being grateful together. As we continually just focus on our breath, we ask that all heads now be bowed and all hearts be open. As we turn to that inward spirit which is a reflection of the outward spirit of God, that energy that is constantly moving in and out of our consciousness space. We are ever grateful in this moment. We speak to that love energy, and from that abundant love energy right now, and we say, oh, limitless and abundant Creator, thank you for this moment today. Thank you for this gathering of Infinity Fellowship. Thank you for this celebration today of the Father element, recognizing that the world is about balance. And as we balance in our fathers with our divine mothers, we create the stability that is needed to push our community forward. We give thanks for our fathers, those who are living, those who have transitioned into the space of life after life as well. We recognize that we do not seek perfection in those who have gone before, because we are striving for perfection ourselves. We simply give thanks that they did what they needed to do so that we could be here. And we are here as living, fulfilled beings, grateful to have gifts, grateful to walk in purpose, grateful to shine. Thank you for the memory of those ancestors in Galveston, Texas, who received the news that others had received around the country, that the institution of chattel slavery was ending, and we could move one more step toward freedom. We recognize that all of us are in this together, regardless of our shades, our colors, our backgrounds, that as humanity, we continue to evolve to the space where we recognize true freedom in you. We send a special prayer out to the Stewart family, Sister Latia in the transition unexpectedly of her baby sister. We let them know through this internet, through this space here, that we are sending a powerful wave of love to the Stewart family, covering as they travel to St. Louis for her final arrangements, speedy transition from her spirit to the space of life after life, and the comfort of knowing that absence in this physical body means presence with divine source. We send love and energy to the nephew of Sister Rosetta Cash, Reverend Brian Wells, as he begins to undergo his treatment to restore his space of health from the space of dis-ease. We proclaim an easy path. We proclaim victory through the nausea, through the sickness, and on the other side, the victory of celebration in power with his family. We speak these things and proclaim these things for those who are gathered in this space, giving thanks for the patience of working through technology, for those recognizing that time and space is a construct, and that the reality is we are here, we are celebrating, we are gathering, and we are fellowshipping in gratitude. For these things and others that cannot be put into words, we simply say, we thank you again, and so it is. Amen. Amen. Hotep. Shalom. Namaste. Ashe. And so it is. As we prepare for our libations today, it's an exciting moment. Our technology, of course, has given us a space where the slides are being seen at home, but we're not seeing them in the space for the first time. How about that? So I'm going to love Statement of Infinitude. I'm going to love the blessing. We're going to see how many people actually know it. Amen. That's going to be a wonderful, wonderful space of transition. I remember once during Yoga Sunday. Once during Yoga Sunday, we did that. And if I was, wait a minute, we realized we didn't have a screen. And it was very, very, very good. And it was awesome. And it's going to be awesome today. And we'll lead us in that. As we recognize our Ancestors Day, we recognize those who have come before, those who are in our family, those who we want to ancestralize in the memory, because we stand on the shoulders of those who came before, and we're grateful for it. This morning, as I was smudging myself with my Palo Santo at home, and I was looking at the table that has the pictures of my ancestors, I was really, really, really grateful. It's been a hot, hot, hot week. And I thought about the kind of jobs that the people before me had. And I just said, man, I've got to figure out how to type some extra words on a laptop instead of being out there in that hot sun doing the kind of laborious work that many of our ancestors and many of our spaces had to do to make sure we get here. So that Thanksgiving in itself is wonderful. So at home, wherever you are, type it in the chat box. I have absolutely no idea how the wires got crossed to when the power outage happened this morning, but for some reason my screen came back on up here, so I can actually see what's happening at home, and that's odd because I did not plug that in that way. So what a blessing. So we're here. So type your names in the chat box at home and here in the space as we begin to recognize the pouring of our libations. We pour today with some special names in mind to our dear community friend at HCA, who's a senior VP and has done a lot of diversity work, Sister Sherry Neal, her husband Marvin Neal, who's known in the community, at one point was a pastor and currently was serving as pastor of the Canaan Church. But you all know the Neals have been in the community for a long time doing a lot of good work. Pastor Marvin Neal won his physical battle with cancer and moved beyond, and now is present with God. And so we pour this libation for Reverend Marvin Neal and say Ashe. We pour this libation for Sister Cheryl, Dr. Cheryl Jones, mother of Dwayne Jones. And if you've been around Infinity a while and know that we built the tiny homes, Dwayne was the construction guy that built our tiny homes and put us on the map for tiny homes. His father passed away a little over a year ago. His mom transitioned, and they did the service on yesterday in Memphis. To Dr. Cheryl Jones, who managed to meet her husband in college at Tennessee State University. They got married sophomore year. She had the first brother her junior year. She had Dwayne when Dwayne's in town. Y'all can laugh with him about this. She had Dwayne her senior year. The year afterwards, she had her youngest son. She graduated on time in 4 years, never missed a class, went on to get 2 master's degrees, decided she wanted to have a dental practice once her sons got older. She pursued 2 doctorate degrees where you had to go in person between online. She got her dental doctorate. She opened a practice and received a second doctorate. On top of that, owned businesses in Memphis and never once missed an in-person class. In the days where people say, I need a personal day because it's my birthday, to see remarkable people like Dr. Cheryl Jones who walk in this world and put good energy into the world. So to Dr. Cheryl Jones, Ashe. And of course to one of our community partners with King Solomon Memorial Missionary Baptist Church, the first lady there, Sister Connie Mcdonald. We stopped by her services last night. Sister Connie, I went by Olivet last night to her service. Sister Connie was 51, and of course that's young, but married several years to her husband Mcdonald, and put a lot of great work into the community. Stood up, wrote several books on women and abuse and moving through those for healing. So we pour to her energy, Sister Lady Connie Mcdonald, Ashe. All right, call the names of those you'd like to remember at this time as we pour the rest of the water. And as the names come into the energies of the north, the south, the east, the west, the skies above, the ground below, and the heart center, we pour an acknowledgement of this energy. Ashe, Ashe, Asheo. And so it is. All right, I think we have some music today, Mama Kanitha. Good to see you today. You're looking awesome. I feel underdressed. Happy Father's Day. It is actually Father's Day. Is an Irish version that exists in the Carr household.
Yes.
It's Father's Day because I had this picture that I have committed to find where my family, when we were living on Clifton, and I think, was Kamaria born? Has she been born? Yeah, I think so. I think or about to be born. But long story short, it was Father's Day, and they bought me a discount cake from Walmart. Like you can get those last minute cakes from Walmart.
It was a cake.
And they got it, and the person who was over the bakery, I guess, wasn't there. So they had a substitute writing the.
She was so nice.
She was so sweet.
Nice.
Apparently, they told me she was sweet. She was sweet, but the cake said "Happy Father's Day," Fahters. So I just said it's Irish. Happy Father's Day.
Father's Day.
So, ever since then, I've been saying Happy Father's Day.
Father's Day.
I saw it, and it was in a box, so nobody knows. So as soon as it opened, I go, Happy Father's Day.
We're like, oops. It's been long years.
That was a good cake, though. That was a good cake. I ate it all.
Don't knock Walmart. Walmart be having them cakes.
That was a good cake, though. Yeah, good spelling on that. So as we generate gratitude today, we're going to sing good morning to you. So I'm going to ask you to go ahead and stand to your feet as we're in the space today. And we're going to generate gratitude by singing good morning. And then we're going to find a couple of people and tell them one thing that you're grateful for. Come on.
Yes.
As we generate gratitude, as we come into the space, we recognize that when you give one thing that you're grateful for, you'll see that you'll start to generate that field of gratitude, and everybody else will fall into it as well. Crank it up for us, Daniel.
There it is. Good morning
To you. Come on, y'all.
A good morning to you.
I got some voices.
A good morning to you. Good morning to you. And we say a da 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 a da 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 a da 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 da.
All right.
Good
Find somebody, two
morning
people, and
to
tell them something you're
you.
grateful for. All
A
right.
good morning to you. A good morning to you. Good morning to you. A good morning to you. So everyone online, make sure that you are still typing in something that you are grateful for that has occurred for you this week, because it is a good morning. A good morning. Da 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 da. A good morning to you. A good morning to you. A good morning to you. Good morning. morning to you.
All right, so as we get to the space today, for those who are online who are new, and I think I see some people in the stream, which is good. I'm seeing people in the stream. I'm so happy to have my screen here today, and I'm so happy that we got a young Infinity guy who does sound and tech. We're going to call Dre next week. Yeah, he's going to save us before he goes back to college. It's going to be beautiful. First and second Sundays, you all know we have our standard service. On third Sunday, like today, we have If Speak. So we have a guest coming in via the internet. So keep our perms and our energy in the space that's going to align. We're going to make sure that happens and gets into the space. And of course, on fourth Sundays, we have Yoga Sunday. So Yoga Sunday for now is virtual. Just a reminder, we're going to give that back to you later in announcements. And then we come together around ancient wisdom. So we are getting ready for a second round soon of our new members class. So if you're interested in new members class, if you haven't sent us the email, go ahead and send us the email to infinitynashville@gmail.com. We have another feature that's going to come up, but we're going to get that going pretty soon. We speak affirmative prayers here. That's perms, pouring energy into realignment toward manifestation. So if you need a perm, call us and let us know. We'll get you in the chair and work on your spirit mind, your spirit main. We're going to get that into the space, give you a real good perm. At this point, at time, I want to welcome up Sister Connie Carr. I want to wake up and welcome up Sister Connie Carr has been up since early this morning. She's going to lead us through our statement of Infinitude. Today's the statement of Infinitude test, the oral exam. We're going to see what that's how we got it.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the Infinity Experience. Please pause for a moment here and take a deep breath and take a look around you, and you'll find two things. One, we don't tell you what to call or how to define the God of your own personal acceptance and understanding. That is an intensely personal and beautiful relationship. Here at Infinity, we affirm your unique connection. And then number two, whatever you call that source energy, you'll hear us say God interchangeably with the universe, divine source. What you see around you is the proof, baby, that it was showing off when you were created after the same image and likeness. And so now it's time to speak aloud the core agreements that bring us together at Infinity. We call that Infinitude. Infinitude is defined in the dictionary as the state or quality of being infinite or having no limit. We have a unique mix of faith backgrounds at Infinity, but what centers us is the spirituality we all share in common. For us, Infinitude is defined as infinity with an attitude, and that attitude is gratitude. And the snap you just heard is the spiritual practice that gives us life and meaning. The S in snap is for spirituality that transcends religion and connects you to the God of your own understanding. The N is for nurturing of ourselves and others, mind, body, and spirit. The A is for action because we take action on our callings and walk in our divine purpose every day. And finally, y'all, this is important. The P is for the proof that our spiritual practices manifest fruit in our lives through the building and maintaining of healthy and prosperous families, relationships, careers, and dreams. We are grateful you all are here as unique manifestations of our Creator, the loving, living spirit of our commonality, the divine source of all creation perceived by many names, yet known by only one energy. I ask that you now rise. Here's our test. As we speak together our statement of Infinitude, we invite you to read along with us, both here and on Infinite Stream, as the Spirit moves you. All right, here we go. We got this. We agree that we are beings of pure, eternal spirit, birthed from the creative potential of the universe with all the powers of the Creator inherent within us. We embrace the innate goodness of humankind and an abundant creation that provides for us through the seeds that we plant in our everyday lives. We acknowledge that who we are is housed in a temporary biological organism, and as such, it is our responsibility to take care of it because it will only last for a precious window of time. As we nurture ourselves spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically, we commit to provide like acts of nurturing for our fellow brothers and sisters of the world we live in, embracing all regardless of religions, faith, skin color, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic background. All are truly welcome at Infinity. We agree and accept that various religions exist as a unique opportunity for humanity to get to know one another through meaningful conversations that seek to explore the core concepts we share in common. It is the application of ancient wisdom, scientific discovery, and spiritual practices, both physical and metaphysical, that will lead us closer together as a human family. We commit to exist now and ever as a beloved community. Yes, let it be so according to the many ancient terms of affirmation. Amen. Amen. Hotep. Shalom. Namaste. Ashe.
Awesome. We can be seated now. Great job, y'all. Great job. Awesome. So this is a reminder in this moment that if you have a standing ovation, go ahead and get you a standing ovation slip and fill it out so we can celebrate it with you. And Sister Angie will get it from you and bring it up so that we can celebrate you during the announcement period and find out all the good things that are happening. If you got a standing ovation at home, go ahead and type it in to the box and prepare as we welcome our visitors. This may be the first time for several people at the Infinity Fellowship. I don't see any brand new faces, but I know we've got some new people at home. If you're at home, type first time into the box so that we can celebrate you and send a bunch of energy into the world of love. You can also, if you are at home, scan the QR code that we will put up. I think we have a slide for our QR code. And as we put that up, just scan it. Later on, if you're watching on the replay, you can scan that as well. If you got friends here in the space who want to watch the service later and get some great energy and love, tell them to scan the QR code as well. And we will send you a love note and a love gift to Infinity. We got some nice, great things to send. But at this point, we want to recognize our first timers. And our first timers, I don't think we have any first timers in the space, but every day is a new day. So we are not who we were yesterday. We are continually evolving. So in many ways, if we show up in the space today with good energy, we're first timers. So let us send the energy out into the world. I'm going to ask everybody to stand and just turn to somebody and put your spirit fingers up in their direction. And if you're at home, you can receive this energy. If you're in the space, we're going to deliver this love energy with excitement, with remembrance, with gratitude, recognizing that we are here for a reason and a purpose. Deep breath in, exhale, let it go, and repeat after me. I see you, but you don't hear me though. I really see the real you. I see who you are. You are a divine manifestation of God's creation. I see what you are. You are a spirit. You're more than what's on the outside. You're a gift to me and to the entire world. I see where you are. You're right here in front of me, where I can let you know that you are not alone. I'm with you and you are at home. I see when you are. You're in the right now, baby. You are so much more than your yesterday. I see why you are. You're here to learn, to grow, to embrace your dreams, and to celebrate your divine destiny. I know all this because I'm here to do the same thing. So we're going to help each other out. All right? I know the real you, and I see you shining today. I feel you shining today. I know you shining today. So welcome to infinity. Welcome home. I say, oh, give a fist bump to somebody, give an elbow bump, give something to show some love. Yeah. As we prepare in that space, as we prepare for that space and our offering, we're going to ask that we place our hands over our hearts, so wherever our space is, as we prepare for giving today. And as we prepare for giving at Infinity, we are excited. It's a part of our ritual of love. It is a part of our energy in our space today. As we prepare in this moment, we breathe in good. We receive the good. We put good into the world. I'm going to pull out my phone so I could do my Cash App today, too. I love to be able to give in a corporate sense with everybody else. Do I have to sign in? Okay, as long as mine was acting a little funny yesterday, but as long as it's acting okay today, yes, it is. It's giving me an opportunity to give. So as we're in the space today, as you're in the space at home, as you prepare to give, you can give via Cash App. You can give via PayPal. You can give via mail to the Infinity Center. And that information is scrolling across the bottom of the screen now. So we got some added technology as well, which we're grateful for. So whatever's scrolling on the screen, those are the ways to give. And we're going to give from a space of good, from a space of freedom, from a space of abundance, from a space of love. And as we center our energy in gratitude and thanksgiving, let us close our eyes in the space, close our eyes at home. I want you to think about all of the good that's in the world, all the great things that we have received, and how we are a part of this cycle. And as giving opens us up to receiving all of the good that is ahead for us, all of the good that is in the world right now, and all of the things that we have come through. What a wonderful moment. What a wonderful opportunity to give and to pour back into a space that provides us with spiritual food like the Infinity Fellowship. And so as we are in this space today, I'm going to ask that you repeat after me our offertory affirmation. O limitless, abundant Creator. And make it easy on y'all. Source of everything I possess. You have given me the gifts of life, breath, and creativity. You continue to provide for me without judgment or preference. And so I freely return these gifts to you with my whole heart, mind, and intention. Knowing that as I give freely, with both remembrance and gratitude, the circle of abundance will be unbroken. And so it is. All right, let us give it this time as we sing along and we say that everything is good because we got it, and we got it good. I'm so grateful that we're in the space today to see the faces and to see the children. And the children are excited to be in the space today. And that's what children are supposed to do. They're excited because everything is good. Everything is good. Let me hear you now. Everything is good.
Yeah.
Everything is good.
And I got it.
I got it. Oh, I got it good.
Hey, yeah. Everything is good. Yes, it is. Everything is good. Yeah. Everything is good. Yeah, everything is good. And I've got it. I've got it. Oh, I've got it good. Hey, everything is good. Yeah, there it is. Everything is good. Everything is good. Everything is good. And I've got it. I've got it. Oh, I've got it good. Come on and sing with me now. Everything is good. Yes, it is. I said, yes, it is. Everything is good. Yeah, everything is good. And I've got it. I've got it. Oh, I've got it good. Hey, everything is good. Yeah, I said everything is good. Yeah, everything is good. I've got it. Woo, I've got it. Oh, I've got it good. Hey, everything is good. Yes, it is. I said everything is good. Everything is good. Yeah, everything is good. And I've got it. I've got it. Oh, I've got it good. Oh, I've got it good. I've got it. I've got it good. Oh, I can find that track. I've got it. Hey, I've got it. Oh, I've got it good. Oh, I've got it good. Hey. Well, all right.
Y'all give it up for Sister Connie. Let's get some hands clapping up in this space today.
Yes.
All right. As we get ready for our announcements, we're also going to give some shout outs to our male energy in the space today because it is Father's Day. So I'm going to ask fathers in the house to stand at this time. Come on. We got a couple in here. Yes. We'll take them. We'll take them. We'll represent. We'll represent. All right, so we have a space here. We're going to give us blue. We had the ladies that got gold. We're going to get us a rich royal blue, and we're going to give out a couple of the. Oh, thank you. Let me get mine bestowed upon me. Emma, Father. Winter is coming. Yes, we're going to get that. Oh, thank you. I got a bag. We got a bag of candy, and we got a bag of candy, a beaded necklace, a plastic water bottle, and a paper towel roll. I can't help Elmo. I just so if you have been a father, uncle, brother figure in the space today, I know I got one or two of those in the back. Go ahead and stand up, and we're going to bestow that upon you too, because guess what? Fatherhood is not just biological. We know this. Fatherhood is beyond that. Fatherhood is standing in the gap when people need help. Fatherhood is showing up in relationships. Fatherhood is being consistent. Fatherhood is being loving. Fatherhood is being there. Sometimes it's just the kid may not be yours. It may be a sibling, but sometimes it's just being in the gap when they need that direction. And that is a way that community continues to grow. So if you are in that space today, know that we are sending that energy and that love to you. And Sister Kanitha, on the way over, could you grab necklace and beads for anybody who wants to take one to a father that you know? We'll make sure that you have one to give, and matter of fact, pass it out to the ladies here. And if y'all are just riding around somewhere and y'all see somebody being a dad in the present space, just roll up on them and give it to them and say, keep going, happy Father's Day, and watch the shock of gratitude that will come up on their face. I might, with whatever's left, I might do the same thing. I might just drive it home. Yeah, give some to Andrew. We might just drive home and just say, hey, there's a dad. We're going to recognize you today so that you can be loved. And, of course, if you were in the space, you would get one. Those beads don't mail well, so I can't mail them to y'all at home. But we send a shout out to everybody that we see in the space today. I see you, Terrell. I see you, Felina. I see you, Tashana. I see everybody coming in now, and I'm so grateful to be able to thank you guys. So dads, fathers, wherever you are, let's give everybody a round of applause. And we got a great dad coming up on the screen in a minute, in just a minute. Dr. Jerome Morris. He's gonna be a special guest today, and he's just an awesome dad, an awesome educator. We're gonna get some good conversation with him for If Speaks for a few minutes of wisdom. Right now, we want to recognize or acknowledge a few announcements. Today is still June. It's the 6th month. We're halfway through the year of attainment. I'm speaking that this has been a year where you have gotten the payoff for everything that you have worked on. So we're seeing fruit. We're proclaiming that. And if you hadn't seen it the first 6 months, you're going to see it the second 6 months. You're going to see it expected and unexpected spaces. That's what this year is about. And trust me, I know many of y'all, I get to talk to many of you all individually. I never share your business, but I get to say generally that great things have been happening for people at Infinity, at home and abroad. And it is so exciting when I can celebrate those things that are happening and manifesting in your life. And it's happening because you have adjusted to a frequency of love, abundance, prosperity, radiant health, goodness, and purpose. And all those things always line up to make good things happen. So as we come into this space, we remind you next week is Yoga Sunday. It is virtual, so please join us online. If you show up at Infinity, there will be a recording in progress, do not disturb sign on the door, and there will be a lock on the door to make sure that that recording in progress does not, right, once it starts. That's how we go. So thank you for helping us as we navigate this quasi world between in-person and virtual. And so that's what we do on our 4th Sunday. We go virtual for Yoga Sunday. I love it because people get a chance to practice at home and not think about everybody around us. Sometimes yoga can be intimidating when we're new to it. So you get a chance to fall out of the poses and huff and puff at home. And I get a chance to do that on camera. So I'll take one for the team as long as you get on the mat with us in aligning your body, mind, and spirit. Sister Connie, you want to come up and tell us, when we bring the mic, tell us about something that's coming up Tuesday night. Listen, if you're in Nashville, I advise you to get yourself ready for Tuesday at 5:30. 2 exciting things are going to be discussed with our partners at the Housing Fund. Let's go.
Yeah, so the flyer is saying if you're interested in affordable housing options in Nashville. So this Tuesday at 5:30, we will have a representative, Miss Alicia, will be coming here to talk about options for affordable housing, mortgage, and all of that. She's also going to give us information about a community land trust. That's something that the Housing Fund has been putting together that helps and gives a lot of options for it maintaining and staying affordable, because we know that because of the property taxes, and we see with the increases in Nashville, it's kind of hard to be able to move somewhere and then keep a good a good mortgage for that. So she'll be coming in on Tuesday. Refreshments will be served. Any questions that we have about concerning how we can get affordable, get our mortgages more affordable, what it looks like, even if you're rent or if you're already a homeowner. This is going to be a great informational session just to come and just to hear about some things. So that's this Tuesday at 5:30. Refreshments will be served, and it'll be rather quick, probably about an hour or less.
Okay,
yes.
Great. So spread the word, tell your friends in Nashville. We just want to fill up the room because affordable housing is a huge issue in Nashville. It's also an interesting concept, the community land trust, which is basically where the land is owned by a community trust and people can build and have equity in the home, but then the land trust prevents the property values from going up so high that people can't afford to live in neighborhoods. Fascinating. It's done in other cities. This is something new to the city. So I invite everybody at home and abroad to get here 5:30 on Tuesday, eat some refreshments, get some great information, and let's make some good things happen in this city. It is time for, I was going to say something right then, but I enjoyed watching you walk across the room. So I said, hey, I was going to say right in that moment, I said, where's Kanitha going? And she whoop, exit stage right. She went on out of there. And I was like, okay. But I enjoyed watching you walk because you got such an awesome walk. That's why I married you. So as we're in this space, I said, whoop. I was like, oh, okay. Oh, well, this is going to be fun. And now it's time for Standing Ovations. Yes, indeed.
Yes.
I was
All right.
hoping you would walk all the way
So,
out the room, but
high energy. See, stop it. Leave me alone. It's Father's Day. You should be glad. Our high energy here at IF comes from our practice of snap. It's why we snap our fingers during this part of the service. We receive practical lessons and tools for our individual journeys. That's spirituality. We fellowship with like-minded spirits every week. That's nurturing. We take what we learn and apply it in our lives, and that is action. And if we do these, then every week we see examples of progress in our lives, and that's the proof. So let us pause to enjoy a collective moment of expansion and manifestation. So what will happen when we call your name? If you're in this physical space, you will stand so we can read it. And if you are online, we will read it out loud. And then at the very end, when it's all over, we're all going to give a standing ovation.
Yes, indeed. Our first standing ovation, again, if you got something, I want to make sure I put our first standing ovation in the house comes from Karen, but it's not for Karen. So it's for Andrew. So Andrew, would you please stand? Snap, 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 snap. Andrew is celebrating his first Father's Day as an official, and by official, I say legal, stepfather, and I say bonus dad. Give it up with the snaps and happy Father's Day as the official. Once it's official, you can't get out of it. I love it. So you might as well lean into it. Lean into it. It's official now. I love it. Next standing ovation we've got is coming from online. And Tony's giving us Terrell, Brother Terrell. We owe your phone call too, Terrell. Standing ovation celebrated the 9th year of marriage to my high school sweetheart. Thankful that our love for each other has grown with us and is stronger because of our Infinity family. Oh, that's awesome, man. We love it. Pouring into you. Shouting, snapping. We're going to dance in a minute. Next, we have Sister Star Malone. Star is in the house. Oh, standing ovation to Rev Jeff on this Father's Day. Oh, I thank you. I thank the universe for the alignment that brought you into me and my children's lives. We love you and your family. Thank you for claiming us as your own. No words could ever express what you mean to us. I see that on there, Tony. Thank you very much, too, for getting that in there. Yes, as our own. No words could ever express what you mean to us. So we're excited. Thank you, Star. And the girls, 4Ks, we love them. We're all in there. Standing ovation I'm giving for Infinity. Y'all know our community programs have opened back up, and they're highly successful, and they're good. We want to give thanks to the Housing Fund who helped us as we reopened. We saw the postings on. They came by and presented a check for $25,000 to Infinity Center. So it was awesome to have that kind of, which enables us to do our housing workshops and therefore our Performing Arts Academy. Every single day we've got 19 kids in here who are learning and evolving and grabbing things. I'm trying to hold up the mantle that Andrew set with creative writing, and it's been creative. We've been getting some writing done. The kids are learning that. That was 2 weeks ago. Our community partner for our housing initiative, One Infinity Way, stopped by on Friday, Wilson Bank and Trust, and they presented that particular program with a check for $5,000 to help us develop our plan for One Infinity Way. And so it's so great to see that people in the area, the city, are embracing the work that we're putting in the community. And so this started with people here, all of you all, everybody at home, pouring into this space that allows us to go out and do great things in the community. And when you do that, people in the community recognize that and they pour in too. So we're going onward and upward, and we're getting this thing right into the space where we need to be. All right, Mama?
And I have one for Professor Thea Jones Brown. She's actually performing at the Dark Horse Theater with the dance that she's a part of. So I wanted to give a shout out to her because I know she's doing so many different things around, as well as teaching for the Performing Arts Academy. But she's also performing.
Yes, she is at the Dark Horse. And we also want to shout out Sister Alicia, whose awesome play, Joe Turner's Come and Gone, is still running in Chattanooga to full houses. superstar directress is in the house tonight, and she has pulled off. She is back home. She has been going back and forth to Chattanooga for the last month and a half, almost month and a half, and now she's back home, back in the space, and still doing great things. She planted a seed in Chattanooga, and that bad boy has grown into an artistic tree. I won't say that they want her to come back over and over again because that'll be spreading her business, but that's what I feel in my mind and heart. That's a good thing. Save space. All right. What do we do now?
Okay, so if you shared, you get, we got one more. We got one more. Yes.
Jeff Napier, man. Jeff flying in the sky. Good morning, flying brother Jay and sister Kay. Okay. I have survived the first week of CXS training. Jeff had an opportunity to work with the railroad in addition to skydiving and everything. He went to Atlanta to start training for it. It's an exceptional job opportunity for him. He passed both of the first week exams and the latter hang test. So everything is good. Y'all keep sending your awesome vibes. Love you. That's amazing, because I think Jeff can do anything because he jumps out of planes, right? And he's like, man, the ladder hang, dude, I expected you hanging off a ladder. It's just, you probably do that with a pinky. But congratulations. I know it's a great opportunity. We miss you. And I'm just going to say this because Jeff is also the car whisperer. Thank you, man. Brother, 3 weeks ago, you fixed the AC in my little black car. Right before the heat wave began. And every single day when I get in that car, I send praises to God and Jeff Napier. Boy, I can't tell you what it feels like to have some AC on a hot day. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Took me back to my 1981 Subaru. What do we do, Mama?
All right. So if you shared, you get to have a seat. They have several seats. And even online, make sure that you're sitting. And the rest of us, wherever we are, we're going to stand to our feet and give a standing ovation. Okay? Here we go. Yes, and so those are the announcements and ovations for today. So it is spoken, so it is received, and so it is. Ashe.
Ashe. All right. So as we prepare for today's conversation, we're not going to have a long one. We're going to have a good one. And Tony, I'm going to be talking back and forth to my tech folks while we get this thing going. But we are going to sing a verse of our third Sunday song so that we can prep ourselves in the mind, express ourselves at home, sing with us. Come and go to that land. Come and go to that land. Come and go to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go to that land. Come and go to that land. Come and go to that land where I'm bound. Oh, plenty of love in that land. There's plenty of love in that land. There's plenty of love in that land. Oh, where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There's plenty of love in that land. Plenty of love in that land. There's a plenty of love in that land where I'm bound. Oh, don't you want to go to that land? Don't you want to go to that land? Don't you want to go to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound? Oh, don't you want to go to that land? Don't you want to go to that land? Don't you want to go to that land where I'm bound? All right, all right. Today's meditation, y'all, comes from the great Bruce Lipton, scientist, physicist, spiritual leader. And we talk about this concept of genes and genetics. If you're at home, you can see this. If you're in the space, I want you to just close your eyes, listen to the words, and feel the energy that is coming in this space today for today's meditation. The implication is that this basic idea we have that we are controlled by our genes is false. It's an idea that turns us into victims. I'm saying we are the creators of our situation. The genes are merely the blueprints. We are the contractors, and we can adjust those blueprints. We can even rewrite them. End quote. Deep breath in here. Exhale, let it all out. Good. Let us prepare as we are in the space today and we're getting ready for If Speaks. I'm going to go ahead and turn the projector on, and I think it should flash up as Tony's going to use our in-studio magic. Is that light, red light flash? Yeah, it's flashing. Good. That's a good sign. Hey. So as we're switching over to get Dr. Jerome Morris in, for those of you who have been in Infinity a while, you know that he's no stranger. But as we get into the space today for him, as we open that up, I want to tell you a little bit about him. And Sister Connie, if you could come up, if you want to read the bio for Dr. Jerome Morris for us while I make sure that we got our tech stuff up. Yes, indeed. We'll get you in there. Thank you.
So here is the bio for Dr. Jerome E. Morris. So Fatherhood and Freedom. Dr. Jerome E. Morris is the Des Lee Endowed Professor of Urban Education in conjunction with the St. Louis Public Schools at the University of Missouri, St. Louis. Morris' interdisciplinary and empirically based scholarship examines the institutional structure and culture in schools, provides innovative conceptual frameworks to study marginalized communities, and cultivates meaningful partnerships with communities and schools. Morris has been in the forefront of highlighting the centrality of the U.S. South and African Americans' experiences, examining achievement gap issues in Black suburbia, and researching public school desegregation. He is the author of Troubling the Waters, Fulfilling the Promise of Quality Public Schooling for Black Children, Teachers College Press. His achievement gap study in Atlanta, Black Suburb, was sponsored by the Spencer Foundation Major Grants Program. Morris has published extensively in leading research and journals. Husband of one, Mary Muse, that's my sister.
Mary.
Father of two, and that is his bio.
That is it. So I think Jerome is there. I see him on Zoom. Jerome, if you turn your camera on, I think we can see you. Well, I'll be doggone. We see you. Can we hear you, Dr. Morris? Daniel's got you on the red and white channel, my yoga channel. We're gonna try to turn you up. Can we hear you, Dr. Morris? Unmute yourself so we can hear you. Can you hear me? All right, we're gonna see if we can get you back up here in the house today. make sure that your speaker is up here. We're going to see what's going on. Say something again, Jerome. All right.
All right, as we're just trying to work it out real quick. But this should be a really great conversation as we are going to get into dealing with fatherhood with Professor Morris. So we are trying to figure out how we can get that sound going, and we will start immediately. It's good to see you, Dr. Morris. Looking good. Send my love to my sister. Professor Morris, could you say something? We're still doing a sound check. He's saying good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
There we are. Yay!
Morning. Or as Sister Kanita says, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
All right.
We are so ready to hear.
Great to be here.
Happy Father's Day to you. It's good to see you. Good to see you.
I will definitely mention it to Mary, and I think Mary's probably tuning in.
Oh, good. All right.
Thank you, Mama.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
All right, Rev, how are you, sir?
Man, hey, man, I'm good. I'm so good.
Right.
I am so good
Right.
to reach this point to be able to talk to you, man. How you doing down there in St. Louis?
Everything's good.
Yeah?
Everything's fine. It's
Yeah.
cooled off a little bit. It's about 85 degrees.
Oh, about 85?
Right.
Okay. Well,
With 100.
it was hot here this week.
Yes.
We read your bio. We talked about that. We got two things happening today, Dr. Morris, Brother Jerome. We got Father's Day. We got Juneteenth. So we got a lot of freedom to talk about today,
Right.
especially as fathers. First and foremost, happy Father's Day to you.
Happy Father's Day to you, brother.
Dr. Jerome is father to Amadi. Well, tell us about your two children again, because he did an exceptional job. Dr. Jerome and Mary Muse actually homeschooled their kids. So they spent a lot of time with their kids, and they homeschooled them from little all the way to grown. So tell us where they are, Doc.
Oh, just to begin, Mary and I have a couple of children. We both just have two children. And our children's names are Amadi Muse Morris, Amadi Omalara Muse Morris. And Amadi right now is in Senegal, West Africa. She's probably tuning in. I think she is tuning in.
Good.
Hey,
Tune in, Amadi.
Give her a shout out, everybody.
Shout out
She's
to
doing a
Amadi
study of-
Muse Morris.
Yeah, she's doing a study abroad there, learning the Wolof language, you know, West African language, and also doing a research project over there, citing work. She just graduated from Washington University in St. Louis. She was a double major, psychological and brain sciences and African American studies. And our son, so Amadi is going to be doing some great work around ag biotech, doing some work here in St. Louis. And our son is Kamal Kwesi Muse Morris. We just put him on the airplane this morning going back to California. He's a rising junior at Stanford University, studying international relations with a focus on world and global and economic studies. So he's looking at taking an economic analysis of understanding international issues. And he's also considering double majoring with African American studies also. He's doing some work right now this summer. He starts an internship with the King Center's Papers project, in which he's examining Dr. King's writings, working with professor there, some people there at Stanford University. A lot of Dr. King's papers at Stanford University. So we're excited for both of them. And as you said, Mary and I were the primary educators of our children. And we can talk, I know I've shared to the group a little bit about that. Mary is a public health educator. I do educational research. And so we both bring a research and deep understanding around how do we create systems that support children's optimal development, educationally, culturally, and spiritually. So we think about all of that, and it's about being deliberate or intentional parents, and not, haphazard, something that enslavement really forced upon us as a people, a haphazard way of operating, haphazard way of parenting, haphazard way of marrying or being in relations with each other, And so Juneteenth, just bringing it all together here at the beginning, Juneteenth symbolizes our emancipation, our liberation, our freedom, but it's also a moment for us to reflect on that day and when we receive some symbolic freedom, knowing that freedom is an eternal quest. And so so we can talk about it in terms of the whole notion of parenting, being a father and everything like that. But we can begin, brother, with, I know you wanted to start with Juneteenth here, and then we'll move over into
it's all together.
Fatherhood piece. All of it's interconnected, though. It really is.
Yeah. Well, first thing I'm going to ask you is, and Tony's going back and forth with me on here. First thing I want to ask is, and let me preface this by saying to everybody here, y'all know that I always say that a proven practice outweighs a brilliant theory. So I like bringing Jerome in to talk about these kind of spaces. Dr. Morris, of course, I like to bring him into the spaces because he has successfully raised his children to adulthood, and they're doing great things. So the advice that we get, or the insight that we get from Dr. Morris is particularly valuable, and the insight that we get from Mary when she's here with us is just invaluable too. But I want to ask you a personal question, and I think I know a little of the answer, but just for context, because people see you, and they see, you're a $1 million grant awardee, you're internationally known in education circles, but literally you're from the housing projects of Birmingham. And people, you're not like a fourth generation college educated student. Tell me about how your experiences growing up and your relationship with your father informed how you decided to raise your children.
Well, thank you very much for that question. Well, a little bit about who I am. One of the things that people see a lot of times, I've had people to say things like, hey, well, we wish we could have been in the position that you are in. You're fortunate to be able to home educate your children. Most of us can't do that. And I always say to people, I started working at the University of Georgia in 1997. My wife, Mary, was in grad school, and I was receiving $43,000 a year, at that time. And I say that, and that was in the late 90s, right around early 2000s. I've worked summer school to get some money, but the point of it is that in terms of my immediate family, my mother and father, I was not just a first college graduate. You hear people say first generation. I was first generation within my immediate family in terms of my mother and father, in terms of high school graduation. My mother went to the 10th grade. My biological father went maybe to the 5th grade. He was illiterate, and so one of the things that people, they look at you and they say, well, you're bringing this middle class perspective. And I'm not here, to say some of that, you are moving up class level, but not caste level. So there's a difference between class and caste. Class is like socioeconomically, educationally, but caste is, it doesn't matter who you are. As Malcolm said, what do they call a black man with a PhD? An N, y'all know what I'm saying. And so the point of it is that I come out of recent experiences So I grew up, my mother joined Steele Morris. She passed in 2001. She raised 6 boys and 1 girl. I have a sister named Sheldon, who's the youngest of us. I'm the youngest of 6 boys. And we lived in Birmingham in what is called the Central City Housing Project. And before Central City Housing Project, we lived in what we call like the slum. And so I was born in 1968, 2 weeks before Dr. King's assassination. King's bloodshed is the reason why my family could move into housing project. In April 1968, Fair Housing Act was passed. So we later, in December 1968, moved into a housing project. But before that, we lived in a shack. It was like a, you hear people call them, was it shotgun houses?
Yeah,
and
shotgun
you
houses.
walk out on the porch and you walk out into the area, it was dirt, just dirt. You know, rows of houses and just dirt. And it was a dirty, dusty looking place. And that's the experience I grew up, that's when I was born into. Then, right about 1 year of age, my mother moved into public housing. And so I found out later, I didn't realize what was going on, you know, why we all were struggling until you get older. And then I realized when I started writing a book called Central Cities, Joy and Pain, Resilience, survival and solidarity and soul in a Birmingham housing project. It's going to be published on the University of Georgia Press coming out next year. But when I was writing that book, I realized that I had grown up at the time, arguably the poorest zip code in the United States, 35203. You know, there's gentrification going on in that area right now in Birmingham. So I bring that perspective. And even when I think about, I didn't realize until I was writing this book, you know, while my brothers had gone to prison or jail. I love my brothers, beautiful, wonderful, brilliant people. They could have been the one at this point where I am right now. Mm-hmm. But everybody except me had been incarcerated, even my sister. And so that's a function of a structure, the fact that you are in the poorest area in the United States. And you're thinking it always around bad decision making, realizing that we didn't have many decisions or optimal decisions. So this is, I see my whole life in my work, and I know I'm here as a result of interventions, as a result of birth order, as a result of my mother being a little bit older. You know, she was 26 when I was born. She was 16 when my brother was born. So a 16-year-old mother compared to a 26-year-old mother with 6 children, very different. And so I've benefited from some of her maturity, you know, and wisdom of having already raised 5 boys. So I understand that, and I have to see the work that I'm doing and who I am as a work of freedom, a work of liberation, and all that I do. And, you know, I didn't have a biological father who claimed me. I knew who he was. Everybody knew who he was. My brother said, "You look so much like him," you know, even though I look like my mother too. But the point of it is, I realized that when I take this back in terms of genealogy, and I think back to it, my biological father was born in 1924. His father was born in 1892. And his father was born in the 1860s. So really, 3 generations ago, through my biological father lineage, was enslaved Black man named Nathaniel Quincy. And he was the property of white people by the name of Thomas Clancy. And so I'm coming out of that. And so I know that history, and I know who these people are, and I've learned about who these people are. So I'm literally just 3 generations removed from enslavement. And I wasn't born in the 1920s. I'm talking about I was born in 1968. So
right.
I bring this is for family and fatherhood, represent freedom and coinciding with Juneteenth, because during Juneteenth, when the Emancipation Proclamation, et cetera, all that was first had begun, you know, our folks were enslaved, and it wasn't that long ago. And so what I'm trying to do is, how do we reclaim and treat family and marriage as a liberatory act? You know, how do we treat that as something that's not haphazard? How do we not always like devalue it and say, well, everybody doesn't have to be married? Yeah, everybody doesn't have to be married. But when we think about Juneteenth and what it symbolized, and we think about emancipation and freedom, what that represents, we know that Black folks, as Du Bois wrote about in Black Reconstruction, at one time could not own their children. They could not be in relationship with their spouses, you know, because we were the property of others. And as a result of being property, we had to ask permission. Can I marry Mary? I would have to ask the slave master. Can I at least see my children, Amadi and Kamal, sometimes? I would have to ask permission for that. And so I'm here to say to us as a people that what we have to do is, as we move into this new era of what we think relationships should be and everything, let's go back and reclaim what our ancestors did. And that they didn't see marriage as a burden. They saw marriage as freedom, okay? They saw being able to birth and to nurse your children and be able to take care of your children and see them develop and move up from infancy to adulthood. That was an act of liberation. They saw that saying the master couldn't sell the child off to someone else. They saw that as emancipation. And I want us as a community to begin to not, as Du Bois often critiqued us, engage in haphazard parenting. Let's be deliberate. And once we're deliberate and understanding that we have to reclaim this sense of familyhood and marriage, then I think our children would appreciate that. And I think the outcomes will be much different. But I understand there are so many forces working against us. All right, brother, you wanted to.
No, that's good, because I look, Du Bois, we all studied W. Du Bois. He was one of the early guys of not pulling any punches. He said, you just can't haphazard parent. It has to be deliberate. And that's something that, you know, there are mainstream archetypes and there are mainstream stereotypes that everything is about marriage and freedom is good. But the lessons that we're learning, there are a lot of things that we can pull. When we say in general, marriage and building families and fatherhood is an act of freedom. It's what free people get to choose to do. It's a gift. It seemed more as a gift than it is a burden. You know, a lot of times we think kids, people say, oh, you know, my God, kids. Oh, these kids. And it's just like a burden. But to see that you can joyfully lean into parenthood, you can joyfully lean into bonus parenthood. For those of us who are in blended situations and circumstances, we lean into that space. When you see it as an actual gift, it's empowering. When you see it as a burden, it's depressing. It's tough. And sometimes it's hard to see it because, you know, we live in a society that kind of romanticizes doing your own thing now and not having kids. So those moments we have to have with patience, with understanding, with pouring in, with conversation. If we see those things as a gift, if we see them as an absolute gift, then it changes how we go about interacting on every single level. And I know, you know, we've talked about this because there are times when we come together and support one another in community. Other people might call it commiserating, but it's not commiserating if you understand that you're lifting each other up. And, you know, when you're hearing that screaming in the background, when you're trying to talk and somebody is pulling something down, or you're hearing the loud crash outside or in the other room, you know, that's a special kind of energy there. And it's a special kind of patience in keeping with the vision of I am here. I am gifting these children with my presence and they are a divine gift to me. Then that helps you through even circumstances. And I know you, with the energy that you and Mary put into even homeschooling, there are a lot of people who will say, you know, I'd love to try that, but you look at our busy schedules and you say, how in the world could we pull that off? Because it takes the time, it takes the energy. Talk for a minute, because again, we've established that on this holiday that represents freedom, there's a freedom in building family and focusing and pouring in. What about for families who don't homeschool, whose kids are either in primary school or in college, but there are some supplemental things that parents can do to pour into children. What are some of the things that you would recommend that fathers and families do, even if their kids are in a school system, to make sure that they are nurtured and that they come up aware and strong?
Yes. So let me go back a little bit. I know I gave you a little bit about how much I made early when I started. I would have a lot of people would say, well, I can't afford it, is my point. And the reason I said that is that I talked about the salary. Mary, my wife, had to stop working. Okay, she stopped working and that was a financial hit. And so she gave up her career. She had to sacrifice her career. We had to, during the summer, I had to sacrifice salary, say I can't teach. So I say all that because a lot of people would say, I know people that had two incomes who both work at the university where I work, who said they couldn't afford it. So it's really about what do you value? It's an issue around value. So that's the first thing. The other thing I want to say too is that when we talk about home educating our children, I want people to know that, Mary and I, we had our first child, Amadi, when we were 32 years of age. And before that, and Jeff, is that we would bring our nieces and nephews up from Birmingham and Jackson, Henderson, Tennessee, because we understood that at that time, Mary and I were not parents, but we had nieces and nephews. And we had nieces and nephews who didn't have the kind of support that we thought they should have had. And so what we did is, because our mothers were both struggling with nieces and nephews, we would send for them and bring them up to be with us every summer. We did that for years. And we would take them over. I was in grad school at Vanderbilt, would take them over to campus and we'd get on the whiteboard and write some things. We would do activities during the summer, making sure that they were engaged, put them in academic activities during the summer, because sometimes children lose a lot during the summertime. That's why what you're doing with the camp with Infinitude is beautiful, because you're keeping young people engaged, particularly in the arts and intellectual activities that continue their development. So always keep them engaged, and every day find out what your child is doing when they come home. You ask them, and that's one of the most memorable things I remember about my mother. She was mature enough as a mother at 26 to ask me every day, Jerome, what did you do in school today? She asked me that every day.
Every day.
And I always responded, I ate 5 times today.
You ate 5 times?
I was 4 years old and I could count, and I would count every little snack and every meal that we had. And that's what I told her, and that was one of the most memorable things.
I ate 5 times today, Mama.
She asked me, what did I do? And so ask your child, what are you doing? The other thing too is understand too that when we send our children to school, and this is not a critique of school, I just want us to think about what education is. Humans, and I've probably said this before, humans over time, the reason why we exist as humans is that we educated our children within our families, within our communities, with familiar people and familial people. The education of the child began, as Mary would tell you, my wife, who's expert around human infant feeding, began with the bonding that the child had to the mother's breast. And that bond is not just for nourishment, it's about developing a relationship. That's why the mother was so attached to that child. People often talk about, well, the nutritional elements. Yeah, you can try to replicate Similac or infant meal, breast milk, but you can't duplicate or replicate that bonding that the mother has to the child. That's the first lesson. That's the first aspect of teaching. And then the child, once the child comes of age, as Du Bois talked about, then the child will be educated by elders and relatives and family members about the history and the culture of the community, about the village, about, giving a nickname, or would learn about who all the relatives are, or learn about their spiritual system. So this was an organic process that humans across, not just Africa, throughout, humans always passed on. It was not institutionalized like we think in terms of education. And so what I want people to think about is that education the notion of sending your child somewhere else to be taught, especially after integration occurred, so-called integration, what we call with desegregation, the legal aspect of moving children from one place into different racial spaces, that when that occurred, our children, I mean Black people here, were being taught by strangers. And when people don't know you and don't like you, you know, are in charge of educating and preparing your child to function in this world, you know, I always think about what Malcolm X said, only a fool would let his enemy educate his children. And I don't want to like dismiss that, because I know some families, you have no choice. You have very little option. I just want you to know that it's kind of like, you know, if you don't know what you used to do, then you think what you're doing today is normal. So what I'm saying, if you don't know, that's why we bring it back to this marriage piece and understanding what we came out of. If we don't know how valuable our people treated marriage and raising children, being parents, given that we couldn't do it because Europeans, white people took hold of that, then we entered into it with a lackluster approach. Well, I got married, not celebrating it. Oh, when a baby's born, oh, she pregnant. You know, not celebrating that. Right. Yeah. Hey, we bringing a new baby into the world, and you own that baby. That white man doesn't own that baby. So what I'm saying is, those are the things. And so the point I'm saying is, going back to understanding that education was something that we did instinctively as humans, passed on culture. If you have a chance, always ask your child, what is your day like? Understand that you have to remain engaged in your child's development from infancy to adulthood. It doesn't stop. And then, you know, always checking in on your child, you know, wherever they are. All right, brother, I kind of went into
No, that's good. I love it because it's there. I'm going to open the floor in a second for a couple of questions. So if you have a question you want to type in, go ahead. And if you have a question here in the space, Sister Kanitha, bring you the microphone so you can ask a question or comment. We can have that heard everywhere. But one of the things that I'm thinking, and I'm going to ask you this because it's a Juneteenth question, and then if anybody has questions or comments, I can say or read. The American so-called experiment is a unique space, right? We have this space that on one hand is a melting pot, but we really don't want it to be a melting pot. We really just want it to be where every culture is respected and everybody can be celebrated as we build the beloved community. We also see that in America, what's considered a holy day has been translated into a holiday, which is a commercial space. So Christmas, or Christ Mass, the gathering around Christ and that energy becomes Christmas, and it becomes Santa Claus and buying. Easter goes from resurrected energy and the spring solstice into Easter bunny eggs. By that, celebrations created like Valentine's Day. Here's a commercial show of love. We go into the summer, 4th of July. Let's buy fireworks. Let's put on a $2 million fireworks show. Let's make sure this industry is popping. August and September comes. We go back to school. Then we get into October. Samhain and Old Hallows Eve now becomes Halloween. You got to buy a bunch of costumes and buy a bunch of candy, and that moves us right into November. And the space of Thanksgiving, which is about buying as much turkey as you can, and Black Friday, and buying as much as you can for, once again, the coming of the winter solstice, which is now Christmas. And we get back into it. I'm just going to ask you directly, because this is something I've been pondering in terms of what do we expect. So we've added now Juneteenth as a celebration of freedom so that everybody's represented. July 4th, Black people were still in slavery. So Juneteenth, although it's really a Texas holiday, when we talk to people from Texas, they're like, that's a Texas holiday. I don't know why a lot of people celebrating it now. That's kind of our thing. What did we expect was going to happen when we got a federal law passed? And I'm asking this because I go into Walmart, they got Juneteenth ice cream. In my mind, I'm like, okay, that's cute. They got the 4th of July here, the Juneteenth. And then people on Twitter are angry that there's Juneteenth ice cream now. And personally, I don't know that every single person who wants to celebrate Juneteenth and wants everybody to celebrate it now, I don't know that everybody can hunt down a independent black-owned ice cream shop and pay $17 for a gallon of it and pay to have it shipped in just to have this sense of economic viability. I mean, what do we expect? And on some level, should we expect it to be otherwise? And should we celebrate that when we do see that mainstream culture is now seeing other people?
Right. Yeah, I think one of the things we have is this tension between our celebration of Juneteenth as a people and it being reserved for Black people, and this notion of the broader society celebrating it or telling us that we need to celebrate it. You know, I know we've had multiple conversations, a lot of us, I can't recall exactly when I first heard about Juneteenth though. For some reason, I was trying to figure out, you know, when did I first hear it? I remember we were living in Nashville in the 90s and we did Kwanzaa, but I don't remember any Juneteenth celebration during that time. We were in our 20s. So
right, I didn't hear about it then either, yeah.
Yeah, so Juneteenth, though, nevertheless, it's a holiday. We know it originated in Texas. But I think what we're struggling with right now is trying to make sense of its celebration and what does it mean for us, and this whole issue around symbolism. I'm reminded of, you know, if some of you have read Derek Bale, this is, Derek Bale, for some of you who don't know, is one of the original thinkers around critical race theory. And
True
Derek
critical
Bale,
race theory, not the political
theory.
football. Okay, yeah.
Yes, Derek Bale was a legal scholar, one of the greatest minds of the 20th century and into the 21st century. But Derek Bale wrote a book called Faces at the Bottom of the Well. And in the opening chapter, chapter 1, he talks about the racial symbolism. And there was this little conversation he had. All of you are familiar with Langston Hughes' work, some of you are. He wrote about this character named Simple. And Simple has this real sharp analysis, sarcasm about society. And it's just a very funny engagement. But Derek Bale writes about this little fictitious experience in which, well, he was in a taxi cab in New York and he runs across this character named Jesse B. Simple. It's really a tribute to Langston Hughes' work. So he's writing about it. And I just want to read something to you. I think it's funny from, and so they're having this conversation about what the MLK holiday represents. And we know people like Coretta Scott King was very powerful in bringing it into existence. And Stevie Wonder was instrumental in bringing that into existence. We celebrated it. But Simple has a counter perspective. And his perspective is really questioning it. And let me just read something. It's from Derek Bale's Faces at the Bottom of the Well. And there's this conversation between Derek Bale and Jesse B. Simple. And Jesse B. Simple is like, seems cynical, you know. And it's just a quote. He says, "Today I'm older and wiser. A holiday for Dr. King is just another instance, like integration, that Black folks work for and white folks grant when they realize, long before we do, that it is mostly a symbol that won't cost them much and will keep us Blacks pacified. It's an updated version of the glass trinkets and combs they used in Africa a few centuries ago to trick some tribes into selling off their brothers and sisters captured from neighboring tribes." End quote. So he says it's basically a symbol that keeps us pacified. And so when we think about Juneteenth, now I just want us to hold that perspective. I'm not saying that I fully embrace that because I understand there are many people who fought for these holidays, but I am reminded, and I'm going to get to another point, but just think about this symbolism, that it's a symbol that keeps us away from the real issue. And so that's what Jesse B. Simple was telling Derek Bale, that yes, you can celebrate it, but understand it's just a trinket here. And the real issue is what we need to be dealing with. I'm reminded, I had someone here at in the University of Missouri system. This is a black guy who contacted me, and he said, Dr. Morris, I know you have an important role at the University of Missouri, St. Louis, and I want to contact you and I want you to help us fight for a Juneteenth celebration. And I want us to make sure or push the state to make sure it's a state recognized holiday. And I used to be the president of the Black Faculty and Staff Association at the University of Missouri, St. Louis. And I said, brother, you know, I'd love to fight for that, but let me tell you, I'm trying to help black people keep their jobs here. One of the things we've seen that the chancellor, the whole system, all the administrators at the university, they laid off a lot of black people and used COVID as an excuse. And, you know, I'm committed to trying to keep some of these black people here. So we're talking with administrators throughout the campus, not just the chancellor, but it begins at the top and goes down. That we're talking to them about, we need to keep black people in these jobs. Their families are going to struggle. And I'd rather focus on that, maintaining black families and income and jobs versus a Juneteenth holiday celebration in the state. So that was the reality that I dealt with. And that's the kind of thing I think we have to do. But what I'm saying is we celebrate and we honor it, we recognize but we've always been celebrating this. I remember in high school, I went to an Emancipation Proclamation Day in Birmingham, and I received a scholarship in 1986 when I graduated from high school to celebrate the emancipation of black people. And I have a scholarship from the Birmingham Emancipation Society. They gave me a scholarship that I took with me to college. So that was what I thought was Juneteenth. We called it Emancipation Day though. We didn't, it wasn't Juneteenth then. But those are some points I want to mention to you all.
No, man, that's great. Look, I got a comment here. If anybody has a question or comment, raise your hand and Kanita can see you and she'll get that in there. First comment is from Mary Muse.
Okay.
And she reminds us, hello, this is Mary, Jerome's wife.
What's up, Mary? With a different room.
Fatherhood tip, always send a shout out. Always, whenever you stand up. This is Mary Jerome's wife. I would like to add that that the parents are the first teachers. A practical thing for education is to read to your child every day, regardless of the child's age. Incorporate reading every night for 15 minutes, and I'll go on to the rest of it online that I can read here. 15 minutes during the summer. Check out a book from the public library for each family member. That's a great tip. That is a great tip. I think for all parents, I need to do a little bit more of that myself. Go and just go to the library. I mean, with the coming of the internet, how often do we actually visit the libraries? We used to go and visit the libraries. And I think early on, the kids used to go to the puppet shows and go get books and that kind of thing. Those kind of things really make a difference in a child's imagination and experience. And that's something I don't think we should lose. We should not lose the going into a place that is a hallowed hall of books for education that opens up the world. And that's something we need to do. I sent a shout out to Aya Fubara Inelli, who and Infinity sent some funds to help her. She built a library for some children in one of the villages where she's from in the west coast of Africa. And we sent that there. And to see the kids, the pictures of the kids coming into the library for the first time and seeing all of these books around them, it was like mind-blowing and humbling. And Dwayne, who we mentioned earlier when we talked about his mom, Jones, he is going to be doing some building projects in Africa. And one of the things that, I took a personal privilege and volunteered Infinity to do some fundraising so that if he gets this contract to build this housing, then we will sponsor building a small library for each one of these small communities that's going to be built over there. So that just kind of came up in this moment, but these are the kind of things that we want to reinforce as we go into the communities, create some reading spaces. Downstairs, the kids now have a ton of books because They were closing some schools in Nashville and closing down libraries in the metro schools. And they were saying to nonprofits, come and get the books. So we went and just loaded up the van as much as we could. We grabbed everything. We got books down there. We got books on history. We got a pretty extensive kids section on First Nations people here, indigenous folks in America. It's just great. We've been able to we got some audio books, but all of that contributes to the learning of children. And even in the Arts Academy, one thing that we're teaching first is writing, and something that the little kids are learning, and even I'm teaching from 6.5 to 16. One of the things that they're learning is writing and comprehension, and we've added to that teaching cursive writing. So it's amazing. It's shocking the number of kids who get to high school and do not know how to write in cursive, because that's one of the things that got cut.
Right.
It doesn't get taught, Drew, and and so to see the young kids and the older kids actually focusing enough to begin to develop their strokes and to see their language evolving, and then begin to write in cursive, and spell their name and sign their name now and sign it in a cursive. And it's intimidating. You draw a letter and they go, oh, what is that? I don't understand. And it's like, but to see them go in that space where cursive writing is very much tapping into the left and the right brain. And so it makes you focus, and it makes you connect and dot the I's and cross the T's. So these things all work together for educating children. And the way I look at it, when we give our kids skills like that and experiences like that, and what Mary was talking about in libraries, you actually give them a superpower in today's age. And I love it. It goes back to what Steve Jobs, even Bill Gates, people talk about technology. They never let their kids play with the iPads. They sent them to schools where they taught writing, and that tells you something. So
Yeah,
we've
let
got.
me
Yeah,
add
go ahead, Jerome. I'm
wanted
looking
to
down the
say
screen
that,
for questions.
Mary did a wonderful job with our children. Like, even when they couldn't even just read like at 1 or 2. Our children could anticipate what would come next, because Mary had read the same story, would read stories so much to them. They enjoyed that, that was a great point, Mary's suggestion. Thank you for mentioning that. Mary did all the work in the beginning, with our children. So that is excellent, tangible suggestion.
Oh, that's awesome. So yes, and so Michelle Mayberry also pointed out, Sister Michelle pointed out that she has been actively involved. When you talked about your nieces and nephews, and she's also done the same thing, helping bring her nieces and nephews into the world and being there. So parenthood is also about support. So your family members' kids, your cousins' kids, you see that the nephews and nieces, the cousins become a posse. You're pouring in a community like here at Infinity. And I remind the people present and the people online, the first understanding of even what community is often happens in spaces like these. So you see other people's parents, and you see how they parent and their interaction. And for kids who come who may not have even a filled out parental structure, they see a community structure and a community parents that are here. So it's great to know that the kids are always watching us and they're looking up to us. But just like when I can reflect back on my childhood coming up, I remember Sister Jenny Robinson at church. She was the lady who had those peppermints in her pocketbook. And after church, we would all go and get the peppermints from Sister Jenny Robinson. Sometimes the little red and white lines were a little blurred, and them things was a little chewy, but they were, that's what they were. And I remember when Jenny Robinson moved on and my dad started going back to church, little did I know, because I was in college, high school, my dad started going back, but I ran into people years later and they were like, your dad, he always had that gum and that candy. And I was like, what? When did my daddy take over being the candy man at church, right? But he did. And there are grown people now in their 30s and 40s who are like, oh yeah, your dad, we always used to hit him up after church for those packs of gum. He carried that juicy fruit gum. Those things impact people. And they impact young people. So I'm excited that we have an opportunity to provide those spaces here today. And a shout out to Michelle for that. Go ahead, Jerome.
So you talk about what you're describing, or what I describe as your example is what I call communally bonded spaces. And so this notion that others are part of your lives, that you're not just being raised by your parents. There are so many other people who are in your life who help guide you and steer you. And so that's the thing that we have to think about. Thank you for mentioning that part about you don't have to be biological parents, or you don't have to have given birth, but you have nieces and nephews and cousins who are younger. And so Mary and I tried to model that with our family in terms of being there for our nieces and nephews no matter what they're doing, you know, really supporting them. And so recognizing that we have to be communal, and going back to our notion of communal people. And the other thing too is that I wanted to get this point about sometimes some of us aren't fortunate to have a mother or father who is there for us, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, I said
right.
to you, you know, your parents, mom and daddy Carr, were wonderful role models in terms of parenting, in terms of marriage. I watched them, you know, before we had children. You know, we lived around the corner from y'all. And when we lived in Nashville, Mary and I watched your parents carefully. And I saw what good parenting looks like. I saw what the outcomes of that parenting, and I saw what a marriage looked like. And I didn't grow up, like I said, with a biological father in my life, but I was able to watch people. So one thing, you know, I know a lot of us say, well, I didn't have a father or a mother. Hey, but there are some people who are exemplars, who are demonstrating to you. There are some people you can look at, and when you see some good things, take those good things and learn from them. And so we have to be students. So, and that is, we see someone who, you see them raise their children, you see what's happening to the children, like you like to say, you know, I'm watching the fruits and watching the tree and watching the outcomes of that tree, you know, the fruit from that labor, and I see that there are good fruit, then that's where I want to go. So that's one thing I say to anybody. So again, giving honor to your parents, mom and daddy Carr, for modeling to a lot of us, you know, parenting.
Man, I appreciate that, Jerome, and I send that in. We got a question over here coming in from the space. And I say again, you know, people like, oh, your mom is so peaceful, so calm. I was like, she did get to that. But if you did something, if something didn't go right in the house, there was some times, man, that my mama, yeah, man, she had it with her. She wanted the smoke. So as the kids say, she would give it to you. And that's just parenting, because we got on my mama's nerves and my daddy's nerves. That's what kids do. And yeah, she was there, and she evolved to that. Okay, so we got a question coming in from out here in the gathered congregation.
Good morning. You sort of touched on it before, but I'm wondering, you know, you said there was a big difference between when your eldest brother was born and when you were born, and when you went to go make your own family. You know, I know that you've said you took from what you saw, but how did you navigate that with your wife? Because I imagine she had a very different history, or maybe she had a similar history, or maybe you're all like, everybody was wrong and we have to go make our own way. But how did you navigate it when y'all naturally came to different conclusions? I suppose.
Oh, great.
That's good.
I think I heard, can you restate? I heard a little bit about my mother being at a different point in her life when I was born. And then the other part about how did Mary and I navigate what it took to make a good marriage or something like that, or family?
Yeah, sorry to go through all the history, but I imagine when you were growing up, it sounds like you're saying she raised you just a little bit differently than she did your older brothers.
Well, yeah, well, one of the things, my mother was 16 years old and then 18 with my two older brothers.
Okay.
And she was 26 with me. That's like a 10-year difference. And the thing is that the experience she had, you know, I think I became the beneficiary of that experience that she learned in terms of motherhood. Now, her mother was with her. She was living with her mother, and while my oldest brother was born, and Then she got married at 18 and had her husband. They were together and they had 3 more children. And then he leaves and I'm a side child. Born on the side. And so it's a whole history to that. But the point of, I would just say she was older and wiser. And I think that would be one of the things that happened. The other thing too is that when I went to nursery, it was like when I was 4 years old, they called it pre-K now. And I was in there. I remember my mother joined the PTA just as a parent. She was the head of the group. And I remember putting together a spaghetti dinner. And who would have thought this Black woman with 7 children in housing project, and all of us were in the housing, but she was over the spaghetti dinner, and that's one of the greatest memories. And the other thing too is that we had teachers. So it's not so much about the difference between me and my brothers, it's that there were there were teachers who were there that intervened. I think we would have been worse off. Even my siblings would have been worse had we not had those powerful teachers. These were Black people who understood the structural conditions we were living in, and they helped us to get out of that. My brothers generally are doing fine. Some are struggling, but for the most part, we were able to transcend that. It's just that I was able to go on and get a little bit more education and stuff. So,
and let me interject.
Me and my wife and I, we come from different experiences. She's from rural West Tennessee, working class. Her parents were married, and Southern rural Black people. And so it was different when she encountered me in terms of my family dynamics. Very different. But we didn't have a child until we were 32. And we were married for 8 years. We started dating when we were 19. So 19 until 32, we had opportunity to nurture the relationship, to learn and study. Then we had children. I think all of that our children would have been different if we had children when we were 24 or 19 when we first met versus 32. Very different.
And that's a lot of intersections. And to piggyback on what Karen was also saying there, how did you all pull together so many different experiences, like your unique set of experiences, Mary's unique set of experiences? Where did you pull from to come together with the philosophy that you raised your children with?
Well, when you're in a marriage, there are things that you find that you agree on, some things you don't. One of the things that Mary and I learned, now we were in undergrad together, and the first thing we realized is that we could work together. And so I was the president and she was the vice president for the African American Student Association. So we met in that space. So we were working together as a team. And then we started dating and got married. Okay. So all these things, so part of it is, can you work with somebody? And there are some things we don't agree on, but one thing we had very similar values was how we wanted our children to be. We were deeply on one accord in terms of their education. Some things like, about, how to raise them. Mary has some different rules that I have. I grew up kind of haphazardly. I just grew up,
That's real talk. Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you my whole story. You can read it in a book next year, but one of the things is that, we were unsupervised. We walked around, and so there were a lot of that, I grew up with a lot of freedom in the sense that my mother trusted that I would make good decisions. She did not say, hey, Jerome, clean up your room every night. And that's the issue Mary and I get fussed at each other about. But she didn't, she said, she allowed me to make out, choose whatever classes. When I stopped playing football in college because I didn't like the coaches, I didn't like playing for Austin Peay, I said, I'm not going to play. She said, okay, so do what you feel is right. And so, but Mary would have to go through her parents for decision making, you know, and there was a lot of that. So I didn't have that. And so maybe I listened to people. I think I did listen to people give me advice, but a lot of was observing, and some was trial and error. But so that's a little bit of what I can say about it.
Oh man, that's great. That's great. Great question. We have anything? Oh, we got another one in here, Jerome. So here, this is coming in.
All right. So my kids are irritating me right now. Everybody here can tell. You can't because you're over on another place, but everybody in this space is like, Andrew's irritated with his kids right now. And I've been spending this whole like hour and a half sitting here trying to figure out the rest of my day, even though we have a plan, right? Like, should I change it? Should I do something different? Should I do this? Should I that? So I'm just curious, like when you're having a frustrating parenting day, like just what do you do to kind of get back on track and appreciate them as the gifts that they are, you know, even though they're frustrating you?
That's good. How do you get back on track?
Yeah, one of the ways you get back on track, I think I get philosophical with this one here. I think back to that poem by the poet Khalil Gibran, and it was made famous by Sweet Honey and the Rock with their song called On Children.
Yeah.
And understanding that, you know, we say our children, but Khalil Gibran reminds us and says, your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughter of life, longing for itself. They come through you, but they are not from you. Although they are with you, they belong not to you. You can give them your love, but not their thoughts. They have their own thoughts. You can house their bodies, but not their souls. For their souls dwell in a place called tomorrow that you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You can try to be like them, but you cannot make them just like you. Strive to be like them, but you cannot make them just like you. My point is that they come from you, but they are not you. And so they are different. You have to allow them to carve their spaces in the world. You have to let them be themselves. Because just think about it, you know, how radically you think you are from your parents. That's how our children see us. And we're reminded of that daily. Kamal reminds us, Amadi reminds us. And that's the thing that we have to understand. They're going to irritate or create struggles, but they are themselves. They can be, you know, they have some of your genetics, you know, but they have their own thoughts, their own minds. We have to support them and understand that.
That's that moment, moving, and sometimes it's moment to moment. One thing that I found, it's the same way. There are times where every intersection is calling. You know, something is going on with somebody that I have to minister to. Somebody wants me to do some other kind of work. There's a workload that's happened. So there's a power outage. Something in the sewer got stopped up, and the kids are, Papa, Grandma, Papa. And I just want to say, no, not now. God, can I have a second? Just can I have a minute? Just a second. And it's, you know, it's literally those moments of, it's the feeling that when we understand the story of the straw that broke the camel's back, you know, it's tons of straw and it's just that one little straw. So I think it's the consciousness. One thing that I've learned as a personal practice is recognizing that it's not their fault in that moment. And to hold that, to take a breather, to step back. And sometimes it is. I realize as I get older how much I'm growing to be like my own father in some levels. There were times when things were getting hot in the house and, you know, my mom was going on about something that didn't get done and it was great. And I say that because people get mellow when they get older. But during those active times, there were moments, and I would remember looking back now and I'd be like, wait a minute, where's Daddy? And I would walk through the house, so like, I don't see that Daddy's not in here. And I would find him like out on the porch or in the backyard. And I say, Daddy, what you doing? Papa, what you doing out here? I say, shh, you know, sometimes, people just need that space, and you give them that space, and sometimes I just end up moving my way on out of the house and getting a little piece in the backyard. And I thought it was the oddest thing until I got grown and had some children.
Yeah.
Then I was like, oh, my daddy was trying not to lose his natural born mind. Now I get it. So then I was able to fall back on that practice myself on some level of being able to say that, because thankfully I never reached that point where my dad would, just turn and just snapped or popped on us, or anything like that. I didn't get to reach that. I understand people do have those moments of contrast, but thankfully it didn't happen with us. But that was a part of it. And even with my own kids, as inquisitive as they are at times, I had to remind myself, okay, being inquisitive and exploratory, I'd rather have that than not have it. And that's it. And I took a picture. Somebody sent me a billboard from someplace in Texas. And you all will appreciate this. It says, nothing is more difficult than trying to discipline the you out of your child. Isn't that a good one? Like those qualities that you saw in yourself. It's really tough when you're faced with them. And that's part of understanding that kids are in that cycle and they are discovering themselves. And we went through that ourselves. It gives you a little more empathy and eases the frustration some. But, a nice good lunch and a Father's Day event hanging out, a Mother's Day event hanging out will help with a little bit of that. Dr. Jerome, before we wrap it up, man, because, again, I appreciate the patience. We were still able to stay on time with the service, which is great. We still were able to stay in our parameters, but we also know we went over because service got started late with technology. I want to make sure Ashley King sent in a message that said reconciliation. It's a part of being a good daughter and son. There are no perfect parents. All families are a work in progress. Lab put in there a nice comment, and this is interesting. He said that, they said, these young parents want to be friends with their kids instead of being parents and setting rules and boundaries. Kids have an opinion, but it is always the right thing to do. So guide your children. So never be afraid to set up those spaces where you guide your children, because they are learning. And yes, we have a comment over here. Let's get that. This is good. One more, and then we'll get that. Jerome, we appreciate your patience today, man.
Hi, Dr. Morris. Our children are roughly the same ages, and how has it been transitioning into parenting young adults? My oldest will be 20 tomorrow. Okay. And she goes to school in New York, so she's not with me half the year. And then she comes home and there's not really a curfew anymore, but it's like that line of like, you can't really tell them what to do anymore, but you feel like you should be able to. So how have you all worked in transitioning to parenting young adults?
Great question.
Well, that's a great question. I wish Mary could be here with me. But one of the things is that question, part of it is realizing that especially when they go off and they come back, that they've had a set of experiences that you don't know about. And one of the things is that you have to give them that space to allow them to come home, and then, it's a delicate thing in terms of like, when you come in the house, or, hey, clean up this room, or stack the dishes, help cook some food here, So they are treating it as like you're trying to bring them back into childhood. They don't like that. And they're saying, hey, I've been operating as a young adult, especially when I've been away. But one of the things is that as a parent, I think you have to be aware that they are thinking differently when they come back into that home. And that you have to allow some space for that. but also still try to create some boundaries and say, hey, we still want you to respect what we're doing here. But one of the things is that it would be different. So I think a lot of what you're experiencing with your 20-year-old tomorrow is that just understand that there is no right or wrong answer in terms of, it's kind of what the expectations in your household, but you have to have some flexibility in recognizing that they are thinking, that you all are thinking differently about the child being back home. They're saying, I'm just here for a short period of time. And, but always you do want some respect though. So one of the things,
Yeah, good point.
I would say, I remember when I went back, I had graduated from college and I went back and lived back in the projects in Birmingham, you know, and I didn't come home past 12 o'clock.
As
You
a
know,
grown man.
And I was grown 22, and I still would not come into that apartment late at night like that. I just didn't do it. So some of it is, you know, it depends. Some of the children, we have to remind them to still respect, you know, be respectful.
That's the struggle, man. That's that sweet spot that's uncomfortable of kids growing up. Because I know with Joshua and with Moke, we reached a point in our in the growing up space where we were very much, you know, we just loved you and we love having you in the space. And you got to go. It's time for you to leave. And maybe some of that's translated right. Well, some of it in another generation, I think was very much, well, here's how it is if you want to live here. So you're grown and I respect that. But in my house, here's the rules of the house. And as much as you are grown, that's it. I had a similar experience. I bought my first house. I was blessed to buy my first house when I was in my 20s, mid 20s. I think I was 24, 25. And I remember that, but I moved out an apartment where I had 2 roommates in a 3-bedroom. So we were waiting for the house to close. And for like 2.5, almost 3 weeks, I had to move back in with my parents. And I was a grown man. And because I was doing my own thing, I was inserting the word in between grown and man. I was feeling that. But I never forgot coming in. I was like, it's like 11:30. And I think I was on a date or something. And I was like, I got to go. I got to go home. And they were like, 11:30. I was like, yeah, I got to go home. And it's just my physical body programming was, I ain't coming in my mom and daddy's house after midnight. You know, it's because, and I don't care if I had a key. So I kind of walked that line until I got back in my own space. And part of that was, you know, I respected their house. But it also is difficult because they want you to come back. Parents want you to come back, but it's an interesting space of growing up. Right. There's a point as a dad with the male children, and you know, if they get near the same size and start wearing your socks and doing stuff like that, you got that to look forward to. You start coming over, man, where's my socks? And then you see them walking outside in your socks, and you're like, man, okay, it's about getting that time where you get the job and you get ready to move and get your own socks, that kind of thing. You knew those socks weren't yours. You know, you start saying things like that. So these wonderful parenting things are great conversations to have. And Dr. Morris, I appreciate you because parenting is freedom. And I want to thank you for joining us today and just give you an opportunity to leave us with a closing statement of, you know, how we move forward in the world. And say it again, Connie. Fatherhood. Give us a closing statement on the joys of fatherhood, Dr. Morris.
The joys of fatherhood. You know, I'm always excited, delighted when I see our children thriving. And I see my role as a father to model to them, you know, what a father is, to model to my son what a man is, and to model to my daughter what a man is. And so those are the things, that's what fatherhood, you know, it allows us to model to our children. It allows us to really shape some lives. And the thing that I want people to think is that, to know, is that though you know, we've had some horrific experiences that did everything to try to destroy our families. We as a people, we really were wonderful and resilient in bringing families together. And even when you look at the situation regarding black males, a lot of people be hating on black males around fatherhood. I always let people know there are just a small number of us who do a bad job representing black men. And so most of us are involved in our children's lives, even if we're not with the mother. You know, we are still parents, we're still fathers. So I want to remind people of that. And for me, the way I saw my role is it was an act of liberation, an act of freedom. I'm fortunate that I had some wonderful people. I had coaches in my life, I had my brothers who taught me some things around manhood. But I'm now in a position to make a change, and I want people to see fatherhood as something that's powerful, and it's not something that, you know, a child should be without. We understand as a family, as a community, we've had extended people within the family who stepped in, but there's no substitute for a wonderful father. And when you look at some of the great people, yeah, a lot of people we've done well without, but when you look at those who've had fathers, and you'll see the greatness shine. And so I want us to reclaim as a people, even though this world tried to make us operate as though black fathers weren't significant. I'm saying we were something before this experience in the United States. And all I'm saying is that we need to reclaim the power of fatherhood and what that represents, and the way it can help instill a sense of confidence and persistence. When you know, the mothers do nurture, and sometimes we see that. Even when I look at our relationship with our children, I realize my role is to give them, to encourage them to try to be risk takers, to go after it, to challenge themselves, and to say, hey, you got to go after it. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you, especially as a black person. So I know some people may say that's a big burden. I'm just saying, hey, here's what it is. But we do have balance. And so fatherhood and manhood, this is about really creating balance. And so I'm excited that you're offering this, because you are about counterbalancing some of the imbalances that we have. Thank you again for what you do, brother.
All right. Round of applause here in the bar. That's everybody clapping for you, Dr. Morris. Thanks, man. We appreciate you as always, sir. All right. As we y'all, what a great moment. What a great conversation that we had with Dr. Morris. And as we're shifting over the multimedia to go back to the slides, Tony, and we're preparing for the closing service, we appreciate the patience of everybody today, as we did it. You know, sometimes those moments they're contrast moments, but those contrast moments just serve to make us stronger. So we hung in there, we got through it. Now everybody can go out, kick it, have brunch, have a great rest of the day. The heat is not as hot as it has been, so we're grateful for that. That's been a good thing. And we are in the space today, so we want to go ahead and close out as we do with a brief perm. So we're going to ask that all heads be bowed, all eyes be closed, hearts be open. God, we give thanks for the conversation today, for the gathering of the Infinity Fellowship. We give thanks for the speaker, the teacher, the educator, the leader, Dr. Jerome Morris, his wonderful wife, Mary Muse. We thank you for the lessons that we have learned, lessons that translate into family, lessons that translate into bringing about the importance of being present. We embrace this understanding. When we have children, when we don't have children, we have nieces, we have nephews on this Father's Day, providing that cornerstone, providing that energy to say we are present, thinking about the present and building on the future. We thank you for those of us who are reflecting on our own upbringings right now. And as we reflect on those upbringings, we recognize that some of those memories may be uncomfortable. Some of those memories, may be even painful. But we give great gratitude in this moment that we can reflect on the lessons that we need to learn from those contrasting moments we had as children. We ask the question, how can they inform how we walk in the world today, right now? Because we are here in the present, we're no longer beholden to our past, but we have an opportunity to plant something special in this world. And so I speak a blessing on the children of those who are listening to the sound of my voice right now, that we as parents will do our absolute very best to love them, to nurture them, to protect them, to bring about the kind of joyful experience that will make them look back in memory and have a mind full of goodness when they think about us. And in those places where we might fall short, in those places where we may not feel we are being perfect, we ask forgiveness of self. We ask the recognition that our eyes are on the bullseye of perfection, even though we may end up just on the outer rings. And sometimes we feel like we missed the board, but we're going to keep throwing. We're going to keep zoning in on that target. We're going to keep focused. We're going to keep loving. We're going to keep lifting. We're going to keep pouring in. We're going to keep experiencing. And as a fellowship, as a community, may we continue to celebrate the love that emanates from families going forward, bringing in those who are cousins, who are aunties, who are nieces, who are nephews, who are brothers, who are sisters, who are people in the community who recognize that it does truly take a village. So we go forward confidently in this moment right now. We go forward with thanksgiving. For these and other things that cannot be put into words, we simply breathe together, inhale in gratitude, exhale and release with the supercharged knowing that all things are working together for our good. And so it is. Amen. Amen. Hotep. Shalom. Namaste. Ashe. Oh, awesome, y'all. We get together. We're going to ask you to rise to your feet as we begin to sing our song to get on out of here. I think we remember the words. We'll put them up for people who are at home. We'll shake, rattle, and roll. The lights went down a little bit, so we had the movie house effect. You know, everybody gets up and we go, stretch it up. So as we leave into from this space and head into the world that awaits our light, we recognize that on this great day that we celebrate as Father's Day, now we got Mother's and Father's Day gone and done. So now we can just celebrate Everybody Day every single day. And that's the day that we get to go out into the world and share the light of love. So as we go forward today, go forward in confidence, go forward in recognition that we're all one awesome human family. And we get the opportunity to proclaim that and to walk in it every single day. Let's sing together our closing song at Infinity, here and at home. If today's a brighter day and we are on our way, then we can begin to heal ourselves again. Oh, we remember yesterday, and yet today's the day. God's reminding me to look at you and see family. If today's a brighter day and we are on our way, then we can begin to heal ourselves again. Oh, we remember yesterday, and yet today's the day. Today's the day. God's reminding me. God's reminding me to look at you and see family. God's reminding me. God's reminding me to look at you and see family. God's reminding me. God's reminding me to look at you and see family. We speak that the love of God, peace of the ancestors, wisdom of the cosmos rest, rule, rock, and abide with us from this point, henceforth, now, and forevermore. We sing.
Amen. Amen. Hotep Shalom. Namaste. Ashe.
Next week, same time, same place, only virtually, Yoga Sunday. So let's get our groove on. We're going to teach you how to get a brief practice that you can do every single day. This is Rev Jeff on behalf of Infinity. We love you guys. That's a fact. You cannot change. See y'all next week.